Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the show. Today we're going to take a look at tuning. I'm going to show you guys my techniques for tuning, and I'm going to talk about why I tune the way I do. This is more for the upper classes, A class, S1. S2 is even a little bit different. S2, you kind of need to start with an S2 car. There are very few S1 cars that can reach into S2 and be competitive. So we're going to talk about the A classes and S1s basically. Some of this stuff will happen for the lower classes as well, but this video specifically is for A and S class. So with that in mind, we're going to start here with the car that I have not tuned. This is the 430 Scuderia, and I'm picking it because it's at the bottom of S1 class. You can see it's a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car right there. So let's pick it and take a look at the car. The first thing you should be doing after you pick a car to tune, you should be checking to see what's tunable from the get-go and whether or not the car has all-wheel steering. So let's take a look at that. First, the only way to find out if the car has four-wheel steering is wait for it to do this dumb thing. And we'll actually drive over there, there's no problem with that. So what you want to do is you want to look at the car from the side and turn. And you can see this car does not have four-wheel steering, and how I know is because the back tires aren't steering. So this is just front-wheel steering. Next thing we want to look at, so we want to go straight to the tuning menu and see what's tunable. Tire pressure is always tunable. We can tune the final drive, the suspension alignment's fully tunable, the camber, toe, and front caster. The anti-roll bars are not. Springs fully tunable, damping's fully tunable, arrows locked. Brakes are fully tunable, and differential is semi-tunable, but you can always throw on a race differential. It doesn't cost you any PI anyways. So this has actually got a lot of tunable parts, which is good to know. When that means when you have tunable suspension, means you can usually save some money and, or excuse me, save some PI and not have to throw it into your suspension. We will put on the anti-roll bars, and we will put on some aero as well, and I'll talk to you about that. We're going to put on the full race differential, and we're probably going to put on, we're going to do a drivetrain swap for an all-wheel drive, so we'll have fully tunable gears as well. So let's start with the upgrades, and I'll talk about why we do what we do. And by we, I mean me and you, the person watching this. So let's go into the upgrades, and your upgrades, you're going to want to get everything that you need. And we know we're going to run the all-wheel drive setup, so we'll swap to that now. When you're running all-wheel drive, you're going to always want to run the fattest tires in the back. But let's take a look at what kind of tire compound this car is running stock. So it's running something less than semi-slicks, probably sport tires, right? I would guess it's some type of sport tire because it's less than semi-slicks and more than, well, actually less than semi-slicks and less than rally. So let's take a look. Get lateral G's is what I'm looking at here. It's 1.02, 1.11 at 120 with this, and then with the semi-slicks we get 1.2, 1.3. With the rally we get 1.16, 1.26. So for the cost here between the semi-slicks and the rally, I would say the rally tires are going to be the better choice for us. It's an 809 compared to an 828. We're going to try and get away with the rally compound, hope it works. And if it doesn't, we'll have to come back and fix that later. We're going to fully upgrade the rear tire width. We're going to upgrade, I'm actually going to upgrade the rear rim one size, and you can see it ups your handling there. And sometimes it'll save you a point in PI as well. So it gives you a little bit better handling, a little bit lower PI. So we're going to do that often. If we had the ability to upgrade the rear track width, I would have done that as well. And we may come back and upgrade this front tire width. It's very expensive, but we're not going to do it now, but we may pocket that for later if we have to. The other thing we need to do, like I mentioned, was throw on the race differential. I'm actually going to throw in the 10-speed race transmission because it's the heaviest. And it's going to have the least amount of PI cost, so that's what we're going to do. That we're just trying to get PI cost down so we could throw that into power. So we're going to go with the race 10-speed transmission, and then the ARBs We're going to need a race front and race rear anti-roll bars, and then the full race weight reduction. And so let's take a look. Now the next thing we want to do, I know everything is tunable. Oh, excuse me, I want to throw in that front arrow. Throw in the front arrow only. I'm not going to throw in the rear arrow. We're only going to go front arrow. What this does is the front arrow helps you with turning, right? Because you have that grip in the back, and then by having the back a little loose, it actually helps with turning even more, and it gives you a better top speed. Let's just take a look at the top speed. It's 190 with the arrow, 203 without it. So we're going to try and build it without every time. We're going to go front arrow, no rear arrow every time. That's what we're going to try and do and see if it works. Okay, so now the next thing to do is take a look at our engine choices. We have the stock 4.3 liter V8, and top speed there, like I mentioned, is 203. We're going to take a look at the other engines. In this case, we only have one swap, but we want to see what our top speed is between the two. And it's 218 with the 5.2 liter V8. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to take that. We're going to swap the V8 because we want as much speed as we can get. And the only other options we got are the twin turbos. So we're going to take that as well. That's going to push us up to a top speed of 231. If there was the option to get a supercharger, I might have looked at that as well. Maybe we'll save that for another video. Okay, so now let's see. We got 230 horsepower. Or excuse me, 230 miles an hour. That's good for S Class. I want to see where we're at with our lateral G's. We're going to do a fake install. A 1.9 lateral G's, that's not going to be good enough. We already know that's probably not going to be good enough. Those numbers cheat sometimes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that opportunity to go ahead and upgrade that front tire width. It's only going to cost us 5 PI now, so that's good. And let's do a fake install again. 1.9 still. So at this point, I don't like the lateral G numbers. We're going to try and upgrade our compound. And we can go to semi-slicks. Let's see what the semi-slicks give us. We're going to do a fake install. 2.0. Yeah, it's not worth it. So let's go back to the other compound and hope we can make this car work on rally compound. So since we have PI to play with, we're going to throw that in. We're going to throw that into as many upgrades as we can get. So we'll start with the displacement. Ignition. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. Let's just throw some upgrades in there. And then we'll get one more. I don't like the intercooler. It adds a lot of weight, so we're not going to throw that one in there. But I do like the race flywheel. Throw the race flywheel in there. And we'll also throw the race driveline in there. And we'll also try and throw some lighter rims in there. There are no lighter rims. We're in the lightest rims. Oh no, there is. Okay, so we can get lighter rims. I like these ones right there. The Trackstar 4s. They got a red lip on them. You see that? So I think that works really well with the Ferraris. So there we go. So that's our real install. That's what we're actually going to try and do. And it puts us at S1900, 900 horsepower, 1.9 lateral G's at 3,000 pounds. So let's see, is there nothing else we could do? We could try and lower the car's weight. You can't. So if you throw a 9-speed in there, it pushes you to 901. So we are stuck with the 10-speed. Doesn't matter. We're going to tune the gears out anyways. Okay, so that's the upgrades, and I hope you understand why I did everything I did. If you don't, feel free to ask me questions in the comment section, and I'll do my best to answer all of the comments. So first thing we want to do is we're just going to take it for a quick race to see how it's going. And I have a track that I always tune all my cars at. It is Bahia de Plano. And the reason I like that track is because... oh, we got to touch those gears. Let's go. We got to get to the gears right away. Gears are way too short. So let's, we can actually just do this as well. We're going to lower the tire pressures just a bit in the front and the rear. Probably something like that. It's probably fine. Those heat up and they get harder as they heat up. We're going to go and just make this curve right. That's a bit long. We're going to shorten that up, shorten that one up, shorten that one up, and then we're going to come up here to the final drive. Keep an eye on that 0 to 100. It's 4.793. We're going to lower this all the way to the left and see what we get. 4.049. We're going to go back to the right, 0.5, 4.019, 4.153. I think I'm going to stop it right there to 4.019. See what happens when I adjust this gear. 249.9, 250. So it's actually this gear that's our top gear. We're going to lower that right there, and then we'll just drop that one like that. And the other two gears, 9th and 10th, aren't actually going to get used, and that's okay. Okay, so that's a good starting point. That's where we're actually going to start. I mean, I really do know that we're probably going to lower this anti-roll bars to like 15 or maybe even 1. So we can just drop it to 15 now. We might have to drop it to 1 later. You can usually raise your rear up to 50. So I like to go 1550 to start, see if that works with an all-wheel drive. Your springs, it's about the same. You want your springs to be softer in the front than in the back. That looks pretty good. 520, 515 to 750 is probably fine, actually. Damping, that's about the same. You're going to want softer in the front, stiffer in the back, and then you're actually going to want to drop your bump stiffness down to 1, both front and rear. What that does is when you actually hit a bumper, you go off the road or anything like a curb, if that bump stiffness is off 1, your car might lose control. You put it down to 1, it's more of a cheat than it is an actual tuning technique for like a real car. We're also going to take our cornering, put that all the way up in the front. So you can see our top speed right now was at 250, and now it's going to be up to, it's only down to 248, but we're going to take our lateral G's from 1.22, 1.36 to 1.22, 1.37. So it's actually not a huge amount of downforce on this front aero, which is kind of disappointing. Brakes are adjustable. We're going to drop the decels to 0, and we'll probably move that center balance to about 65. We're going to keep it on that 0 to 100 time, and let's see. Yeah, 64 was good, put us at a 3.8. So that's going to be our starting point, and you should do that for most cars that are all-wheel drive. Lower your tire pressures, adjust your gears. You're going to want to, probably your alignment's going to end at like -1, -100. Front caster angle's fine. There's your anti-roll bars. Your springs is probably good. Damping's probably good. We might end up changing that. You're going to always do that with your cornering. Your front aero is going to be pushed towards cornering. Your rear is going to be locked because you won't have it. Your brakes, you can do whatever you need. Just know that it's backwards. If you push it towards rear, there's more front force. If you touch it towards front, there's more rear force. You can turn your force up or turn your force down depending on whether you race with ABS or not. And then your differentials, we want to adjust the decels down to 0 to let us turn better. Your center balance, you move towards the rear to get more turn in as well. All of your upgrades and all of your tuning options, they all work to make your car move forward or make your car move side to side. Your engine, your upgrades, those things all make you go forward, and you want those ones to make your car go fastest. You can't substitute speed with tuning, so you need to have speed, so you need to be using the right engine that gives you the most speed. You need to be using the right upgrades, as many as you can get, because there is no substitution for speed. So now let's take a look at the tuning, and we'll talk about why we do that. The tires, the reason that the tire pressures are like this, when you have lower tire pressure, it gives you, it's harder for the car to break loose. It'll take more force for it to break loose. It'll be less responsive, but it'll be harder for the car to break loose. So if your car is S2 and it's very good grip, you may want to use higher tire pressures, and that'll get it turning faster because you're anticipating the car to have plenty of downforce and grip to keep it planted. When you don't have all that, you might want to go with lower tire pressures. The alignment, you camber. The reason we set the camber like that is because it was where we were able to get all the the inner, middle, and outer part of the tires all heating up equally. Just so happened to get it in the first try. Your toe, you can put some toe out to get some turn-in response, but if you do too much, it decreases stability. Toe in brings the front of the tires closer together than the backs. It increases stability, but reduces turn-in. Toe out does the opposite. It makes you less stable, but gives you more turn-in, which only makes sense. It's kind of the same thing with downforce. Downforce makes you very sturdy by pushing down on the car, but if you're pushing down on the front and the back of the car, you have less turn-in ability. So sometimes we want a lot of downforce on the front and a lot of less downforce in the back to let the back end slide around, let the front move. Same thing with toe in and toe out. Front caster angle, really I don't see much changes when I change that. If I use 7 or 3.5, I don't see much difference there. Anti-roll bars, you want your front softer than your rear. That also helps with turn-in. Like I'm going to keep telling you, this is turn-in or this is cornering. Steady state cornering, which is in the middle of a turn, or turn-in. Anti-roll bars is actually for the steady state, but with the softer fronts you also get turn-in. Same thing with the springs, softer front springs, better turn in. If you're getting too much slide while you turn in, maybe your rear springs are too stiff, you can lower them as well. Ride height, typically the higher ride heights will give you a higher top speed. Sometimes if you drop the back ride height, you can get better acceleration. It's a bit like a drag car, but for this one we have it all the way up. Yeah, and you can see when I'm lowering that rear ride height, we're getting a little better 0 to 60, but we're losing some top speed. The damping, it's the same thing. You're going to want your front a little softer than your rears. We could have actually made this a little stiffer, would have probably been fine with 8 and 11 or 8, 12. Something like that would have probably been just fine. The arrow, we're going to always go with full downforce in the front unless it's some ridiculous number like 700, 800, 1000, and you're not in S2. If you're in S2, maybe you need that much. This is actually little, like 183 is not very much downforce, so that's perfectly fine pushing that all the way up there. We were getting great turn in anyways. Having no spoiler on the rear helps. If we had downforce pushing on the rear, we wouldn't be able to get our back end to move like this, and if your back end does move like this, it helps your front end go turning. So car, it's a function of the front and back of the car. The brake force, I didn't adjust this, and I really not the greatest to talk about with that, so maybe we'll talk about that. We'll study that more later and we'll come back to that. Differentials, basically these lower numbers allow the cars to allow the tires in the front and in the rear to spin at different rotations, which is necessary when turning. When you're turning, your outside tire spins a lot more than your inside tire, so when these numbers are lower, it allows them to do that. And your rears, that's basically, it's a higher number there because when you're launching, you're spinning the tires, you want them spinning together, so they lock a little faster with the higher number there, but you still want the decel all the way down to allow it when you're off throttle to get as much difference in spin so you can turn. Center balance, you're pushing the balance of power from between evenly distributed between the front and rears on an all-wheel drive towards the rear, so that so the car behaves more like a rear-wheel drive car. Helps with turning. Basically everything is a function of either turning in or turning and going forward or stopping. That's essentially the only thing you're trying to get your car to do. So my name is Mike. You catch me on Twitch at SNFA. That's one word, and on YouTube at Not Fooling Around Crew. I can show you some more tuning tips on how to tune a lower than A class car. If you guys are interested in some of that, hit me up and we can talk about it through the tuning. You can also join me at the Not Fooling Around Crew Discord server. There's a link to that in my bio, and the SNFA race team. You can see that up in the upper left hand corner. Always looking for drivers. We do a weekly race. We're going to do a Halloween race. Actually, it's a Halloween parade. If you guys are interested in that, join us at the Not Fooling Around Crew Discord server, the SNFA race team. Everyone is welcome, no matter your skill level. So thanks for watching. My name is Mike, and I'm out.